finally. Everybody I ran into.
I'd like to call the Special Finance Committee meeting to order. Roll call, Mr. Dembinski.
Here.
Mr. Janik.
Here.
Mr. Heberling. Mr. Van Turen.
Here.
Mr. Nahorn.
Present.
Mr. Wienarski.
Here.
Mr. Wienarski.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the council rule requiring the presence of the auditor at finance meeting.
Mr. Dembinski.
Second.
So motion and a second to suspend council rules that requires the auditor from being, or to be present during the Finance Committee meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0. We do have a letter on file from Mr. Patak.
Yes, we do. Right. I make the motion to excuse him.
Mr. Janik?
Second.
So motion and a second to excuse Mr. Patak from the thing. Do we want to add anybody else? Mr. Heberling?
Yeah, I'll expand that to excuse everyone. I'm guessing we were given notice. Is that consistent with everyone's understanding? I mean, it's a committee meeting.
Okay.
The obligation to attend is all.
All right. So motion and a second to excuse Mr. Patak and Mr. Heberling from the Finance Committee meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 6-0. What item on tonight's agenda, A 1909, an ordinance adopting a credit card policy for the city of Amherst in compliance with HB 312 and declaring an emergency. Mr. Mayor.
It had come to our attention that this new House bill requires an ordinance passed by council to have these credit card policies. We've had this policy in effect for quite a while. It's just not been sent to council for approval. But because we just became aware of this and it's actually due here in a few days, so I really would like the emergency and suspension of rules if possible when we take this on to council. But if you look at it, it's a very simple policy. It just keeps us in line. A lot of our department leaders have a credit card. Most of them are generally even kept here at City Hall or at the auditor's office, but once in a while we need one to really make some purchases. So hopefully you'll see the importance of this and pass it today.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Dembinski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have just a couple of general questions and a few things specific to this. Do we know how many credit cards the city currently has?
I don't have an exact number, but the safety service director, myself, Jamie, fire chief, police chief, maybe a couple of foremen. I think some of them have refused them, but that would be the auditor, I'm sure, has a credit card. Again, most of the supervisors that have them keep some either here at City Hall or at the auditor's office. I keep mine here at City Hall. I don't take it home. Jamie keeps hers here. Police chief probably keeps his. He does a lot of work when he travels to seminars, so he does take his. But that's probably about the extent of them.
I have one. Karen has one, but we keep it locked up at the office.
I was just curious.
And we follow up. We write POs before we use them. We use them just like a check. It's just sometimes it's a little more convenient when we're purchasing things online. It does save the city money to use these.
So I was kind of going through and comparing what was in here and what was in the state 132 bill, and I think there are two small changes I would like to make, or if possible, but I'd like to discuss them, of course. It does say that we have, there's a list of everybody that can have a credit card and the limit of what that would be. There's nothing in there that says they can only have one credit card per position. I think that's implied, but I would feel a little more comfortable if that was explicitly stated. And then the second thing is, our deputy treasurer is being designated as our compliance officer. The compliance officer can't have a credit card though, and she's currently listed in the list as being able to have a credit.
I thought they could have the credit card, but can't have the authority to set its limits.
So I was prepared, so I did bring it
Okay.
up. It says the compliance officer may not use a credit card account and may not authorize an officer or employee to use a credit card account. So to me, that's the way I would read it.
Okay,
Do they distinguish between credit and debit? Because ours, it's really it's for a bank account.
Yes, so actually, I believe later down here, and I don't have it highlighted, I apologize, it says this is specific to credit cards.
Okay.
And the city is not supposed to use debit cards except for like the police chief.
so it's not really a credit card.
I don't think we
It's-
have a credit
They don't
card.
have a credit card. We've got the one bank that has credit cards. What they have is a bank card.
Like
So-
an ATM card that you can,
And
with a MasterCard logo or Visa
that might
logo.
have to be looked at, and it might not be able to be used.
Is that different from a debit card then? Because it says we shouldn't use debit cards.
Correct, so that might have to be looked at.
Okay. That's something that I guess I'll defer to the law department to follow up with, but I would like to make a motion to amend this to read only one credit card may be used per position, and that, for now at least, the deputy treasurer is removed from the list of people who can have a credit card.
All right, so your motion is to amend it.
Only one, a position may have only one credit card.
And to remove,
The deputy treasurer, which is 3K on the list of positions.
thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Randowski?
I'll second with comment, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, I read the same thing. When you look at this House Bill, what is it, 312? The first couple pages, it has some bullet points, and we're in compliance with all the bullet points. The wrinkle is that it is specific to credit cards, and it does say in there that only the police chief can use the debit card. Beyond that, for reference with regards to what Mr. Dembinski, the compliance officer can have a credit card under the condition that the auditor's office retains all the cards, that the cards don't leave the office with the exception of in-use time. And that's specific to section 9.21-7D. So that's why I'm happy to agree with Mr. Dembinski. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, there's a motion to amend, to allow each position to only have one credit card and to reduce or remove the deputy treasurer from the list of the holders/users. On this motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Mr. Heverlin has been seated, so it carries 7-0. He can vote. Mr. Dembinski?
Move to send to the floor of council with emergency.
As amended.
As amended, thank you.
Mr. Winiarski?
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second to take A 1909 to the floor of council with the emergency as amended. Any further comments or questions on it? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 7-0. Mr. Dimbensky?
Move to adjourn.
Mr. Winiarski?
One job here. I'll second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries 7-0. Will be adjourned at 6:56.
This is section just 922.
Yeah, about the debit card piece.
All colored and